Hey everyone, it's time to do another one of these reaction video thingies. It's been some number of months since my last one, so it's a good time to do another one, and we're going to do a drinking one today. Everybody seems to enjoy that component, and I did have a decent amount of wine with dinner, so it's good to, it's a good night to do that. Better to piggyback. I can't really, it doesn't really, if I start drinking at the beginning of the reaction video, I don't really, nothing happens, so it's better to have kind of a base. And then I have this is my dad got this for my birthday. He sent it to me. My birthday was a couple weeks ago. Oban single malt Scotch whiskey. This is kind of the stuff that I like, so we're gonna drink this. Still waiting on an alcohol sponsor. I would love to work with alcohol brands. I think it'd be a fun, different little avenue for the channel. And yeah, so reach out to me. But in the meantime, got to drink something. So I'm gonna drink this since my dad sent it to me. But yeah, it's you guys send me stuff all the time, and then I take a peek. I just kind of see what it is, and some of them I'm like, all right, that doesn't need a debunk. That's gonna be like just a watch and react, and it's usually creationist stuff. I've got sent some other stuff that's not creation, because I can't, sometimes it'd be nice to react to something that's not creationism just to mix it up, but in the meantime, there's a lot of dumb creationist stuff out there, and this one is called I think like 3 people sent me this. It's called Proof of Creation, Bruce Malone, It's Supernatural with Sid Roth. That's the channel, Sid Roth's It's Supernatural. I never heard of that. It's only got 122,000 views, and it was posted 11 years ago. So not really like a high impact video. That's why we're doing this. We're doing this as a throwaway, right? It's just a reaction video. Other stuff. Whew, that's got a kick to it. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's tasty. So yeah, we're just gonna dive into this. I suppose I can't really think of anything else to set it up. We're definitely doing some more. If you noticed, we got the Discovery Institute stuff coming back here. I have at least 3 more planned for that playlist, and those are different, right? Those require, I got to dive in, I got to look at the primary literature, I got to explain exactly how they're lying. Last time we had Casey Luskin manipulating the data table and all that really good stuff. But this is gonna be, I don't know exactly what it is, but I just kind of did a quick okay, just look at 3 seconds in 3 different spots. Looks very infomercial-y, so I don't know. I think it's gonna be ridiculous and hilarious, and it's about 28 minutes. So I think typically I do about a 3-to-1, so it's probably going to be about an hour and a half. Depends how much I feel like ranting angrily at the stupidity. So anyway, yeah, Sid Roth, and then this guy Bruce Malone. Let's see what happens here. Starting the video now.
Hello, welcome to my world, where it's naturally supernatural. I have got a passion to rescue young people that are caught in the lies of the school system to undermine the validity of the Bible.
Yeah, that's totally what you're doing. It's it's the schools that are lying. And keeping people astray from the truth in the Bible. That's totally not the exact opposite of what you're doing. Great start. Good stuff.
My guest has absolute scientific proof, because he's an outstanding scientist, that evolution is not scientific.
Yes. All of science is wrong. Trust me, this one scientist says so. He's so awesome, he's such a super awesome scientist that he's able to debunk all of science. Great job.
Is there a supernatural dimension? A world beyond the one we know? Is there life after death? Do angels exist? Can our dreams contain messages from heaven? can we tap into ancient secrets of the supernatural?
Oh my God. It's just like, oh my God. Like, were people hired to do, is this like shitty B-roll? Like, is this like stock footage, or how did they put this together? I'm fascinated by this. This is and then there. I just love how young Earth creationism overlaps magnificently with like the pseudo archaeology bullshit. Like, he's just like, oh, he's got like a literal like Indiana Jones looking guy, like with the magnifying glass. Like, oh, I'm reading this thing. Like, what the hell is this, man?
Are healing miracles real? Sid Roth has spent over 35 years researching the strange world of the supernatural. Join Sid for this edition of It's Supernatural.
I love the idea of like this fucking studio audience with like an applause thing, like different signs, like, okay, now nod pensively. Yeah, it's not a coincidence that earlier like 40% of them were just like, yeah, nodding. Like, this is like what happens when you go to like watch the Tonight Show or something. There's signs that are like tell you how to react. It's really funny.
My guest, Bruce Malone, is a scientist. He was with Dow Chemical for 30 years. He was one of the top 100 inventors. He had 18 inventions that raised millions of dollars. But take you back.
He had inventions that raised millions. That you mean earning? Like inventions that earn money? He worked at Dow Chemical, so therefore he's an expert on evolutionary biology. Like, you gotta love the hypocrisy of creationists that are just like, I have with me this super duper awesome scientist, so ignore all of the scientists and listen to this one scientist. Like, this, it's the same as Discovery Institute. They're just like, they pretend to be very scholarly. I'm this awesome scientist, and therefore you should ignore real scientists because I'm a scientist. Like, I don't, the Trojan horse mechanism is very transparent.
When you were in college, you told me God was irrelevant to you, but you had a deadly virus, and because of this deadly virus, you came to your senses and became a believer in the Messiah. But
the origin story, the fake origin story of every creationist is the funniest shit I've ever heard. Like, first of all, they all like, this is like Gunter Beckley with Discovery Institute, right? They're just like, I was not religious at all. I was just like all the atheists, and I was like, oh, what is this? God is such a dumb thing. Bullshit. But what's this layer with the virus? I had a deadly virus. So you got sick, allegedly, and therefore God is real? Like, what? Or not just God is real, but young Earth creationism is true because you got sick from a virus. That sure follows.
But what I want him to tell you, as a scientist that could not possibly believe in creationism, that could not possibly believe that there was a worldwide flood, he goes to church shortly thereafter and he hears a lecture by a creationist. What effect did it have on you?
Well, it shook my entire view of reality. I mean, everything I've been taught said this Earth is billions of years old, and yet this speaker was showing how fossils could not possibly be billions of years old. And the more I studied it, the more I realized that's true. I mean, if you think about a fossil, it's a dead animal caught in a rock layer. And yet, if you have a...
No, it was so... I was just like, it's every fucking time it's the same shit. I was part of the, the heathen class, And then I heard this amazing evidence, which is just the fucking same goddamn creationist talking points that have been debunked 18 billion trillion times. And then he starts out with not knowing what a fossil is. A fossil is a dead animal. It's not, man. Like you, it's not actual organic material. Like the animal died there, and then rapid sedimentation occurred, and then all that organic material is replaced by minerals, right? It's a mineralization process. It's not actual organic material for the overwhelming majority of fossils. Okay, so he does not know what fossils are. That's where we're starting.
Fish that dies in your aquarium, it doesn't turn into a fossil. It doesn't fossilize. It's just eaten up and deteriorates and turns into food.
If a fish dies in an aquarium, it doesn't turn into a fossil. No shit, asshole. Like, what do you like? Oh my God, I'm gonna be very angry throughout this video, I think. So you don't know what fossils are, and you don't know how fossilization occurs, such that you think that science would expect for a fish in an aquarium to turn into a fossil magically. Continue.
Food for other animals. And
So
yet,
what makes a fossil then?
in order to make a fossil, you have to have something die and be buried very deeply and very rapidly, and then lots of water flush through the rock layers as the sediment is turned into rock.
So how the fuck would that happen in a home aquarium? You are just admitting that the thing you immediately said prior is idiotic. Great, thank you.
And yet there are billions of dead things turned into fossils in the rock layers covering this entire planet. It's testimony that this entire globe has been deluged by an incredible flood in the fairly recent past.
Why? You're on the one hand, you claim to not, you say things that demonstrate that you don't know how fossilization occurs. Then you kind of sort of explain how it does occur, and then you go, because fossils form, global flood. This is like South Park underpants gnomes. You've got A, fossils. You've got C, a global flood. What the fuck is happening in the middle, right? What are you talking about?
And what effect did that have on you?
Well, I realized what I'd been told about world history couldn't possibly be true, because the very rocks themselves don't match the characteristics of these huge time periods.
But you also found out that this whole thing you believed, this theory of evolution, was false. Tell me one of the major reasons.
Well, I'll give you two major reasons. When you go to the bottom of these rock layers that were laid down underwater, they were all laid down underwater, you find enormous gaps between every very different kind of creature. You'll find single-celled organisms and then starfish with nothing in between. How do you do that?
Oh my God. Okay. None of that is true. Okay. Okay, single-celled organisms where? If you're talking about stromatolites, it's a completely different formation. That's not part of the geological column, so you're already wrong there. Second of all, you think you're going from single-celled organisms to starfish. Starfish are not the earliest. That's well past the Cambrian explosion. Starfish evolved in the Ordovician. Like, I don't remember. They're not even remotely close to being the first animals. They're not even remotely close to being the first, like the Ediacaran fauna, right? We have all of these. I talk about this in my very long Stephen Meyer debunk. We have all of these organisms, animals that predate the Cambrian explosion. Like, he's skipping the entire Cambrian explosion, all of the organisms from the Cambrian explosion, and jumping to starfish and going, we went from single-celled organisms, which aren't in the geological column, straight to starfish, skipping like fucking thousands and thousands of species that we have fossilized remains for. So he's not even, this is like 10 times worse than like the lies of like a guy like Stephen Meyer, who pretends that the Cambrian explosion is the beginning of animal life, right? That already is a gigantic lie. He's ignoring all the Ediacaran fauna. You have like Dickinsonia and Charnia and Claudina. Like you have dozens and dozens of different species there. So no, the first animal, and it's hard for them to fossilize, because here's the thing. Like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit spottier, the record, because things don't fossilize as well until they have like a fucking skeleton and shit. Like, that's when you get better, more pronounced fossilized remains. Doesn't mean we don't have them, right? Go look it up. Go Google fossils of the organisms I just said, Dickinsonia and stuff like that. We have them, and they're like fucking 600 plus million years old, which is 150 million or something years before starfish. So you're like, this is what blows my mind about young Earth creationists, is that they so confidently assert things that are like, you can Google for 10 seconds and know it's wrong. And they just say this shit. They just say it like as though people don't have internet access. Like, it's not the 1950s. People have the internet and they can look stuff up, and they just say this shit. Like, it's not like Discovery Institute, where it's like a more sophisticated way of lying about this stuff, where it's like, oh, you can't read these papers, so I'll pretend that we are telling you the truth about them, and you won't know because you're not going to read the papers, and you can't anyway. This is shit that you just like, when did starfish evolve? Oh, okay, you're very clearly lying, because the fossils... Oh my God, I'm already worked up.
How do you go from a single cell to a starfish and leave nothing in between? It's like it was created. There are starfish and lobsters and coral and different kinds of animals, very different from each other, with enormous gaps. Second, we have very recently been discovering dinosaur bones that have totally unfossilized, soft, stretchy tissue inside the bone.
They're never going to shut the fuck up about this. This was discovered, and then every creationist in the world was like, that's it. We've proven that fossils are not old. And they just will not listen to anything that explains this in the context of real science. Oh my God, they found some soft tissue in a fucking T-Rex specimen. Holy shit. Is it an interesting find? Yes, it is. Has it been thoroughly explained scientifically? Yes, it fucking has. There are special circumstances in which you can have a preservation of soft tissue. It involves being completely dry and desiccated, right? It has to be away from water, right? You got to think, how is it that organic material deteriorates over time, right? Being immersed in water helps. Right, you have a liquid medium with which chemical reactions can occur that can cause the degradation. So it's dry, it's desiccated, it's away from water, and then I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's something about like iron. There's iron that initiates like some cross-linking that strengthens the proteins or something. I don't remember what it is, but I talked about it in some video. What video? Oh, it was a James Tour thing, because he was like that. Like, when James Tour started parroting this shit is when it was like, okay, James has gone full young Earth creationist. It was in that one where he was like, I don't know how old the Earth is. I don't have any way of figuring that out. Like, I know children learn it in high school, and I'm an actual scientist, but I can't possibly figure this out. Who could figure this out? That's when James went full young Earth creationist, and that's what these assholes are saying. And there's just no, like, they'll never learn. I mean, they're not trying to learn anything. Obviously, it's just descriptive lies. But yeah, this shit has been thoroughly explained.
Now, Sid, think about this. If your grandfather's dog died and he buried it in his backyard, and you came back 50 years later and dug in that spot, would you find any bones left, any soft tissue left?
No.
You wouldn't.
Any bones left, any soft tissue left? You just said two completely different things. Also, a dog, that's not a fossil. you fucking idiot. You already talked about what fossilization is as most organisms don't fossilize. Like, it's not that science says that everything that dies becomes a fossil. It's a relatively rare occurrence. That's why we don't have trillions and quadrillions and quintillions of fossils, because it's a process that occurs relatively rarely when you have rapid sedimentation. Did the dog in your backyard experience very rapid sedimentation and fossilization? No. So what the fuck are you talking about? God damn it. Hey, let's take a short break from the debunking so I can introduce today's sponsor. As you know, I expose all kinds of frauds and charlatans, and some of them are batshit insane. So much so that in response to me exposing them, they do crap like this. Yeah, weird doxing stuff where they insinuate that I'm gonna die and they'll steal my wife. And why would I be dead, you ask?
Professor Dave, I'm gonna make that guy hang himself.
And how, pray tell, does a troll like this enact his revenge on people who expose him?
I'm going to destroy their lives. I'm going to dox them publicly. I'm going to give their address away on live stream in front of thousands of people and have their lives be ruined.
And while this guy is the most unhinged of all my haters, he's far from the only one. Do you think I want jerks like this to be able to figure out where I live or get my phone number or anything like that? Absolutely not. That's why I use Incogni. Incogni scours the internet for data brokers who collect and trade your personal information without you knowing. Finding them all and demanding your privacy would take forever, if they even comply, so why not let the professionals do it for you? Go to incogni.com/Professor Dave and use code Professor Dave to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. Incogni will find every last one of these data brokers and make sure that all your information, from your name, address, and phone number to social security number, medical data, and even shopping habits remain completely private. The best part is that this activity is constant, so you can rest easy knowing that any new breaches that crop up will be dealt with swiftly and efficiently. And you can keep track of all this progress in your own personalized dashboard, which tells you the number of hits and how many they've been able to remove. Be sure to also check out Incogni's new Unlimited and Family Unlimited plans as well. These allow you to submit an unlimited number of specific links for immediate removal, for a level of protection beyond the standard plan. So don't wait another minute. Go to incogni.com/Professor Dave and use code Professor Dave to get a whopping 60% off. That's incogni.com/Professor Dave, or click the link in the description to take your personal data off the market. Now back to the debunking.
Because
It'd all be decay.
all things that used to be alive totally decay. They turn back into molecules that totally disappear.
They turn back into molecules as though they weren't molecules already, and then they totally disappear. Molecules disappear, you guys. Molecules wow, this guy worked at Dow Chemical. So I don't know exactly what he did, but you would assume that he knows what chemicals are and what molecules are, right? Jesus Christ, who is this guy? I didn't look him up, so I don't know if it like his what his backstory is, but this guy's an idiot.
Now, fossils are tissue that have turned into rock, but inside of that rock we find soft tissue.
Okay, like he's all over the map. Like he's turned into minerals. Okay, so earlier you're pretending that's not the case, and then there's soft tissue inside. Really? Always? That's always the case for all fossils? Or is it a super rare thing that we found a couple of times? Like really almost never. Like we found it at a woman paleontologist, I don't remember her name, found it in I think it was a T-Rex specimen, and that might be the only time. Like, did we find it one time? Or maybe two times? Like, I don't know. I don't remember. And I refuse to Google and find out right now. This is extremely rare. Like, fossilization already is relatively rare. And then the preservation of soft tissue within fossils is unbelievably rare. And this jackass is pretending it's like, this is what happens in fossils, so what's up with that? Like, what are you talking about, man?
It can't be there unless those bones were buried very recently. And we have found dozens of these dinosaur bones with soft tissue in Montana, in Siberia, over in Europe.
Maybe it is dozens, I don't know. But even if it's dozens compared to the thousands or millions, I don't know how many, like what is the total? I mean, I would assume it's definitely in the millions of fossilized dinosaur specimens that have been found. and you're throwing around a dozen as though that's impressive or somehow an appreciable fraction of the total specimens found. Give me a break, man.
Around the world, still with soft tissue inside of them.
So where did we get the Earth is a billion years old or whatever?
Well, you have to realize what's going on in science. There are only two possibilities to explain everything. I mean, pretend the entire Earth is represented by this puzzle, this box.
Okay.
Either the puzzle made itself, either all the pieces, which are like the animals we find all over the Earth, made themselves, or something outside of this box made the box. Science has been defined as only allowing natural processes.
So what you're saying to me...
Oh my God, like it's Kent Hovind with the somebody made this cup. It's the fucking tornado in a junkyard. It's just, they'll never ever stop with this shit. They'll never ever stop going, look, here's a man-made object. Look, humans made this cup. Therefore, everything is made. It is possible to make things. Therefore, everything is made. I did this against Kent Hovind in the debate there. Okay, a snowflake forms naturally. Therefore, everything forms naturally. It's the same thing. It's a complete. It's just, it doesn't work. It's a fallacy. And then this guy's gonna ham it up and go, oh my God, how could it be that a puzzle could blah, blah, blah? What the fuck?
You're telling me over 1 billion years that I could throw these pieces like this and they'll all make themselves into a puzzle. You got more faith than I got.
This guy is like, oh my God, this is such like an infomercial. Like, it's like they're selling fucking, I don't know, like a kitchen utensil or something, and they have their script, and he's like this, like you got the salesman and the guy that's like, you're telling me that I can prep all of my food for my dinner in less than 20 minutes? What are you talking about? That's crazy. And then the guy's like, ho, but with the Ginsumatic blah, 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 you can do it in 5 minutes. Like, this is such, like, who the fuck falls for this? Who in the world falls for this? The guy, he's like, so he knows he's full of shit. He knows, like, okay, let me do my dumb dramatic thing. Give me the puzzle pieces. I go, you're telling me, like, he can't even get the words out. Like, he's so embarrassed by how full of shit he is that he just looks embarrassed while he's doing this shit. You're telling me that because of all these complex biological processes that I don't have a shot in hell at understanding because I'm a science illiterate moron, that's the same as if I throw puzzle pieces and then they magically come together and make a puzzle? Is that what you're No, fucking nobody is saying that. Nobody. God damn it.
Exactly. That's the way science operates. Let's just pretend it made itself. But I'm telling you, the laws of science show us it couldn't have made itself. And the evidence from the rock layers say they were laid down rapidly.
I'm going to tell you something.
It definitely, I mean, absolutely not, right? I mean, if you know anything about how sedimentary rock forms, you know that it is a painstakingly slow process. If it wasn't a painstakingly slow process, I have news for you, beaches wouldn't exist. How the fuck would you have sand ever if sediments just immediately form rock layers? Right? Like, that's a very basic thing that I feel like if you don't know anything about geology, and I don't know a ton about geology, I learned a little bit in order to make geology content, but I learned about sedimentation and the formation, you know, how igneous rock and sedimentary rock, the different kinds of rock form, and the rock layers in the geological column are sedimentary rock, and they don't form in 10 seconds. Okay, it takes a really long time, and the evidence is that loose sediments exist all over the world. They don't just form rock overnight.
Evidence that he has. It's irrefutable. I want you to think for yourself. We're going to come back, and you're going to find out something that is as ridiculous as these pieces of puzzle making themselves.
I like how you Like, I didn't like the way, like, he fumbled the first throw. He like tried to do a dramatic thing. He's like, oh no, that sucked. I got to do that again later. I gotta do a better throw. And he's like, okay, this is my chance. This is as ridiculous. Science is as ridiculous as me throwing puzzle pieces. And then what else did he say? I want you to think for yourselves. Thinking for yourselves is the last thing that creationist preachers want anybody to do. They want everybody to exactly like this studio audience. They're going to spew infomercial bullshit, and then the light comes on that says nod like a gullible moron, and then everybody goes, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Puzzle, he threw the puzzle pieces, and that means science isn't real because he threw the puzzle pieces. Yes. There you go. I guarantee you there's a fucking light that says, now gullible sheep, clap and cheer and go like this. That's it.
We'll be right back to It's Supernatural.
Call right now to get Bruce Malone's easy-to-understand must-read book, Censored Science, and his one-year daily devotional, Inspired Evidence, plus his powerful DVD, Explosive Geological Evidence for Creation. Yours for a donation of $40. Shipping and handling is included. Ask.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Holy shit. Okay, so for a donate, it's not a donation, it costs $40. The shit book and the DVD, okay, this was 11 years ago, so I'll give him a pass. But even 11 years ago, people weren't really buying DVDs. Today, this would be like, it's like buying a cassette tape at a gas station in Nebraska. Like, nobody uses DVDs anymore. Okay, 11 years ago, even still, not really. They're going for the heartland of America here. But it's not a donation. That's what it costs, right? When you go buy a book at Barnes & Noble, they don't go, oh, okay, that's going to be a donation of $25. It's what the fucking book costs. But second of all, they needed not one, but two bright red censored stamps, right? Because it's not lies, it's secret truths that have been censored by the woke liberal media or by the heathen universities, right? The evil indoctrination camp universities, they're censoring this super awesome truth. And just so you know that it's censored, we got to go like this. It's not enough that it says censored with the stamp on the book. Let's do another one. Let's go boink with the stamp just to really drive it home. Censored, right? Shh, secret. You want to know the secret, right? Unbelievable.
Ask for offer number 9204. Through Bruce Malone's beautiful hardcover book, Censored Science, you will learn of the many true scientific discoveries that actually increase your confidence that the Bible gives the only accurate record of the creation of planet Earth. Explore the amazing evidence from geological sciences that show the reality of a global flood approximately 4,500 years ago in the days of Noah. Learn the facts and reasons why evolution is wrong in stating that the Earth is millions of years old when it is actually a more recent creation. You also get Bruce Malone's book, Inspired Evidence, which is a one-year daily devotional that is jam-packed with fascinating and amazing scientific facts. And through his revealing DVD, you will realize the explosive geological evidence, which proves once and for all that biblical creation is true.
I feel like these dorks went to Ken Ham's Creation Museum and then just like took a picture of every like display, like, oh, here's the blah 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 about the dinosaur and the blah blah blah, and they're just like, okay, click, okay, we got that one, all the text on that display, that one. They just did that to every display, and they're just like, fuck it, put it together, it's DVD now, right? Take all of that text, make it a script. All right, we got a DVD. Because I guarantee you, it's word for word identical, right? They don't have, there's no like flavors. Like, somebody wrote this shit decades ago, and then it just, they all have the same goddamn script. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Don't miss out on getting Bruce Malone's 2 books, Censored Science, and his 1-year daily devotional, Inspired Evidence, plus his powerful DVD. Yours for a donation of $40. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9204. Call or you can send your check to Sid Roth. It's Supernatural. P.O. Box 39222, Charlotte, North Carolina 28278. Please specify offer number 9204 or log on to sidroth.org. Call.
Like, they're so bad at that. Like, if you don't say 9204, we're gonna have no fucking idea what you're talking about, and you're not gonna get this book. So pay attention. We have a lot of instructions for you guys who can't even read a 9th grade biology textbook. Make sure to follow all these instructions if you want to get this book. Like, can we wrap this shit up, please?
Call or write today.
We now return to It's Supernatural.
Okay. Now, the Earth, according to many scientists, is billions of years old. We have scientific inventions that help us date how old the Earth is. What do you say about the book called the Bible that says the Earth is a little over 6,000 years
Well,
old?
what you're not hearing about, Sid, is that the vast majority of dating methods indicate a very recent creation. But
No, they definitely don't. This is just some fucking song and dance that you have to do because all of the science, the entire body of geological knowledge, proves you wrong. So this is your just ridiculous act to try to pretend that all of science is wrong and your dumb book of lies is true.
explain life without God, you've got to have enormous periods of time. So they only pick the methods that seem to indicate, well, maybe there has been a lot of time. Let me just explain one, radiocarbon dating. Everybody's heard about that. And I'll show you why it really supports a recent creation. All of our bodies are made of carbon. A certain amount disappears every so often. So as soon as you die, it starts disappearing. Say the carbon in your body is...
Okay, so, god damn, like, there's no way this guy had any job relating to science in any way. There's I'm sorry, I don't even need to look it up. The way this guy talks, it's already a telltale sign. Like, when you're gonna talk about radiometric dating and you immediately bring up radiocarbon dating in the context of the age of the Earth, that's the signal to everyone that lets everyone know that you're a fucking moron. Radiocarbon dating is used to date objects up to about 50,000 years. In general, the rule of thumb is you go about 10 half-lives for any radioactive nuclide. So this jerk off doesn't know that there are dozens of different nuclides that can be used with dramatically different half-lives, thus allowing us to date objects of dramatically differing ages. So he doesn't know that. He doesn't know what radioactivity is. He doesn't know, I don't think the guy really knows what atoms are, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Because then the second thing, he starts going, carbon, we're made of carbon, and every so often, carbon disappears. Like, he thinks that atoms, that I think that he is pretending that when like some kind of nuclear reaction occurs, that atoms are literally disappearing. Right, and so he's pretending like when you have like carbon-14 or any other radioactive nuclide has a particular half-life, that that when they disintegrate, they're like disintegrating into thin air instead of becoming nitrogen 14, right, or whatever, if you're talking about potassium becoming argon or uranium becoming lead or what, any of these other processes. Yeah, the guy has no idea what he's talking about. Let's see him fumble this.
Represented by this sheet of paper. After so many years, half of it disappears. After so many more years, another half disappears.
Oh, cool. I didn't know what half meant. So I'm glad that you had a little prop there that you could rip in half, because now I know what you mean by cutting in half. This is like the demographic that they're playing to.
So many more years, half disappears, and then half more disappears, and then half more disappears. We can measure how fast that happens today. But you see what's happening? You get less and less and less and less until eventually you don't even have a single molecule of the paper left. So
A single molecule of the paper. What's the composition of paper? How big is a molecule? Do you have any fucking idea how many atoms are in that little piece of paper? How many trillions upon quadrillions of atoms are in that little piece of paper? Do you know how big molecules are, my guy?
Scientists measure how much something has died, they dig it up out of the ground, they measure how much radiocarbon is left, and they calculate, well, then it must have been alive thousands of years ago because there's hardly any left.
No, that's certainly not in the context of much older, or first of all, he calls it radiocarbon, like just say carbon-14. Like it's radiometric dating in the context of carbon. Right, almost every element has more radioactive isotopes, right? Carbon, the naturally occurring isotopes of carbon are C12, C13, C14, and C14 is the one that happens to disintegrate the fastest, right? So all right, just keep going.
This is what you're not told. This is what students aren't told. We can dig up dinosaur bones or coal that was supposedly buried hundreds of millions of years ago. There shouldn't be a single atom of radiocarbon left, just like...
Stop calling it radiocarbon. And second of all, stop pretending that anybody uses carbon dating on dinosaur bones. Nobody uses carbon dating on dinosaur bones, you fucking moron. Okay? There are many, like anybody who thinks that radiometric dating is synonymous with carbon dating is a moron. Okay? And then second of all, shouldn't be a single atom of C14 left. How do you know? Have you done the math on that? Do you have any idea how many half-lives have to elapse to go from a macroscopic amount of C14 to a single atom of C14? Do you know 10th grade chemistry? How many items are in a mole? Do you know what Avogadro's number is? Do you know the shit that you learn in the first month of 10th grade chemistry, you moron?
You can't keep dividing the paper over and over again. And yet we find like this much radiocarbon left in those things. It says those dinosaur bones, those coal seams couldn't possibly be as old as we're told because there's enormous amounts of this radiocarbon left in them.
So could it be what the Bible says, a little over 6,000 years old?
See, that's what I explain to people when I go out and I teach in churches and in schools. The vast majority of the evidence indicates those things are very young, exactly as the Bible indicates.
No, actually, precisely zero evidence supports that. You're just baselessly asserting it because that's the conclusion that you've arrived at ideologically. So all of the actual scientific evidence for all of this shit being super old, you don't understand at all, like genuinely, like beyond misrepresenting it, you're also a moron and don't understand it. And then the guy says, well, it doesn't follow that if science is wrong, then the Bible is true. Like anybody should be able to understand that intuitively. Like if A is disproven, B is not automatically true. But then when we're pivoting from fumbling A completely, then they go, B is true because I say so. That's it. I don't need to substantiate it in any way. I don't need any kind. I'm this awesome scientist, right? The guy, this Sid introduced Bruce as like super duper awesome scientist. He has all these inventions and stuff, and he's like the smartest guy alive, right? So you want to talk about some science to support this shit? No?
Okay, another subject. Is there any proof that a creature has turned into another creature, or the whole evolutionary cycle?
There is absolutely no proof for that. What you get is variations within a kind of creature. It's like, you look at all the different kind of dogs.
Why doesn't a whale give birth to a pine tree? This is the shit, like, it just, I get angry every time. I've heard it so many times, and I know they're gonna say it, and I can't help it. It makes me angry every time I hear this shit. Like nobody is suggesting that an extant organism should be giving birth to a completely unrelated extant organism. Nobody is saying that. Okay, and for the 1000th time, kind doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. Kind is a nebulous term that allows you to talk shit and say whatever you want and completely ignore actual phylogeny and what the various taxa mean. So go ahead, do your thing.
We have Chihuahuas and we have Great Danes, but they all came from the information God put within the first wolf-type creature. And
so this is hilarious to me, right? Like, how do you get such incredible phenotypic variation over a few hundred years? Or I don't remember exactly when we started breeding dogs to be this very, very dramatically different dog breeds. But it's actually it's hilarious when creationists reference dogs, because it's the perfect example, and it is artificial selection. So we're artificially accelerating the process by which you can get this broad phenotypic change by selecting and going, okay, I'm trying on purpose to get the smallest dog, right? It's not a blind process, right? You can get much, much smaller or much, much bigger organisms gradually over millions of years, or even a little, hundreds of thousands of years, by selective pressures, right? If an environment favors, right, if resources are scarce, then it might favor animals getting smaller and smaller, because the smaller it is, the fewer resources that are required. But then if there's like a lot of predation, then then naturally a larger organism is gonna be favored, because it's gonna be a better predator. It can defend itself and it can kill other things better. So with artificial selection, we're just seeing how this works, right? That you can get much bigger, much smaller, much whatever feature that you want really fast over a few hundred years or 1,000 years or whatever. And so these jerks acknowledge that all of this shit came from wolves, right? And technically are still Canis familiaris, but let's be honest, you get a Great Dane or a Saint Bernard or something in a Chihuahua, like are these even genuinely the same species anymore? Like, they kind of are, but they kind of aren't, you know what I mean? And on a long enough timeline, we would have to acknowledge that speciation has occurred artificially, of course. But they can't fucking put two and two together and understand that if you apply this naturally, if you have populations in isolation and they evolve gradually and have these dramatic departures phenotypically, that they're fucking different species. Right? You can have different species of like salamander or something that don't even look that different, but they're not interfertile. Because species, and we have observed this. Specifically with, I think, salamanders, or I don't know exactly what, but ring species. I know in California there's a ring species of salamanders. I think it's salamanders, or it might be a gecko or something. I don't remember. But yeah, it's like they'll never let go of this thing of pretending that evolutionary biology demands that something like a salamander give birth to a fucking armadillo or like a polar bear or something, right? It's just, there's just nothing there. There's just no connection to actual science whatsoever.
then you get lots of variation. But a dog has never turned into a cow, and it's never been shown how it could happen. Now,
oh my God, I'm so mad. A dog never turned into a cow, so evolution is wrong. Like, how fucking dumb do you have to be to fall for this shit? It just blows my mind. I get it that if you don't look into paleontology at all, you're not familiar with lineages of extinct organisms, right? We don't go around knowing, we don't just intuitively know about the lineage of extinct mammals, right? Or something like that, or primates or whatever. Like, you can take any taxon and you have a crown group and you have a stem group, right? And we're not familiar with the extinct species, which makes perfect sense. They're not alive right now. It's when you're a little kid, you learn about the animals that are at the fucking farm, right? And you should. That makes perfect sense. I mean, you also learn about dinosaurs and stuff, but that's because I don't know, kids love dinosaurs. My 2-year-old son is obsessed with dinosaurs. He watches dinosaur stuff on TV every goddamn day. I think I loved dinosaurs too as a kid. Anyway, that was a tangent. But but like we found this shit and you can learn about it, right? You can learn about the lineage of extinct mammalian species. And so if you do that, you become familiar with forms that very clearly, like if you go back from like a hippo and a horse and you go back, you find species, you find organisms where you look at it and you're like, huh, fucking A, I can totally see how both a hippo and a horse evolved from that. I totally see it. It very clearly looks like a thing that's morphologically in between those. And I see the two different paths that got there. And you can do it, I mean, obviously for like a zebra and a horse, but you can do it for a hyena and a wolf. Like you name it, you can see it. And we have them. It's not speculation. It's not like, I can like conceive of an organism that's morphologically intermediate between this and this. We have them. We found them. Thousands and millions of them. So go look it up. Go fucking learn something. Jesus.
What evolutionists will do, they'll line things up. This is what you'll see in the museums and in the textbooks.
Oh, speaking of lining things up, the American Museum of Natural History has an exhibition of horses. Tell me about that.
Well,
it's
a classic example, and you see it in the textbooks in the museums.
It's a classic example of science being explained to people. Right? It's a classic example of scientists figuring shit out and then trying to explain it to the general public. Classic.
Line up creatures that had 3 toes, and then creatures that have 2 toes, and then creatures that had a single hoof, and it'll be a small creature, and then a medium-sized creature, and then a big creature, and they'll say, see, that proves the horse evolved from a different creature. But once again, remember, you're not being told the whole story. We have, since that became very popular, shown all those creatures have been found in the same layer of rocks. So how?
No, I mean, I'm almost positive that's absolutely not true. But more importantly, like, this is also, and admittedly a little bit better of a tactic, like the throwing the puzzle pieces shit is like, dude, you gotta be a fucking idiot to fall for this crap. But this tactic of just like, it's true that if you isolate any particular datum, if you isolate any particular lineage and go and throw your hands up and go, oh, like, how does this prove? No, like, if you isolate one thread of evidence, of course it doesn't prove anything. That's not how science works. We're looking at lineages for all kinds of species, and all of that evidence in total points undeniably to common ancestry of all species, of all organisms, right? Obviously, like if you have a fucking like a crime scene and you're getting all of this evidence, like, okay, we got fingerprints on the doorknob, and then we got a motive, and then we got the knife was owned by the suspect's brother-in-law or whatever. Like, you have like 18 different threads of evidence. What that would be like is if you were like, and they think that because they found this one thing that he's the murderer. No, it's not because of the one thing. It's because of the fucking 18 things. It's because of all of it. It's because of the totality of the evidence that all complements each other and points towards that guy did it. Right? That's how science works. You collect a shit ton of evidence, and when all of it corroborates each other, that's when that something becomes consistent beyond reasonable doubt. Nothing is ever proven. Oh my God, where it's not proof. That's not how science works, right? Proof is for mathematics and logic. We're talking about the evidence. All right, I already said what I have to say.
How could one turn into
wait.
another?
All right, now you're talking science to me. You're talking scientific fact. That blows that exhibit out of the water. Why is it still there?
Because you've got to try to pretend that it happened. So
What
they'll
do
leave it there.
Why do you have to pretend?
Because the only alternative is that God made horses. One moment there wasn't a horse, the next moment there was. And they have lots of variety. Some of these horses have since went extinct, but they were simply horses with lots of variety, just like we have dogs with lots of variety.
All right, but what about...
Yeah, they were totally just completely different species that I'm going to say are all horses because I feel like it, right? That's essentially what's going on. And why are, like, I love, like, the projection of ideological motivation, right? They are ideologically motivated to lie about the entire body of science in order to push this regressive, long debunked narrative of creationism. But in order to mask that, they pretend that science has the ideological motivation, right? Scientists, these stupid atheists, which, by the way, the vast majority of scientists are not atheists. The vast majority of scientists believe in God. Just the vast majority of humans in general believe in God. They project their ideological motivation onto the scientific community. They do all of this stuff going like, I'm going to disprove God. I'm going to lie about these, the ancestors of horses because I hate God, right? This is the shit that they're selling. It's unbelievable.
We hear from time to time these missing links, these these apes that really look like they're almost human. And
It's storytelling, Sid.
no, they find bones.
The entire field of biological anthropology is storytelling, right? All of the dozens and dozens of species with thousands and thousands of specimens that are objectively morphologically intermediate between organisms that look more like extant apes and humans, right? Things that are objectively bipedal but still retain like things that allow them to swing in trees and stuff like that. All of that is a story because you want your story to be true over science, right? That's what it is.
Evolution is...
But wait, they find bones.
I could find a tricycle and a bicycle and a motorcycle and a car buried in the ground, and I could line them up and say, see, that proves that that tricycle turned into that automobile.
Cars are not biological organisms, you dumb piece of shit.
All by itself. That's the same thing with the bones. That's how you have to think about them. It's a story to try to explain things as if God hasn't done it. It's just bones that are lined up. Doesn't mean one is turned into another.
As a scientist, I want you to help me out. This is what doesn't make sense to me. They say, a monkey became an ape, became a human. This is taught as science.
Right.
So therefore, if that be true, why aren't there some half apes and half men walking around?
Oh my God. It's the thing. It's the why are there still monkeys? It's the number one dumbest thing that creationists can say. And he just said it. Why are there not half blah, 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 the ones that are still on the way to becoming the humans? Humans are apes, first of all. There's no half ape, half human. Humans are fucking apes. We are apes. I don't give a shit if that hurts your feelings or not. We are apes. We are mammals. We are vertebrates. There are all kinds of taxa that humans fit inside. And for some reason, the family Hominidae is the one that pisses you off. Right? Does it bother you that we're mammals? Why are we mammals? Because we have all of these morphological and physiological characteristics in common with other mammals? Yeah, that's how fucking phylogeny works. So are we apes because we share all of these characteristics in common with other apes because that's how phylogeny works? We are apes. Cry about it forever. And what else was he talking about? Yeah, so why are there still... Okay, so... okay, I'm not going to summarize all of my anthropology tutorials, but we have a very recent common ancestor with chimpanzees and bonobos. You go a little farther back, you have a common ancestor with that clade and gorillas and orangutans. You go a little bit farther back, then you include, you go even further back, and it just gets larger and larger taxa. This boner has no fucking idea what like Australopithecines are, or the various species within genus Homo, or Sahelanthropus judensis, or Origin tugenensis, or all of these. Like, he doesn't know they exist. He doesn't know what anthropology is. He doesn't know what anthropologists have been doing for the past 100 years. There could be no more immaculate example of an argument from ignorance than this shit.
Because half of something doesn't work. A half of a feather can't fly. You can't have a reptile scale fraying and turning into a feather and have both animals be useful.
Okay, so this is like Ray Comfort's Crocoduck and fucking Michael, what's that guy's name? Michael, Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort's Crocoduck, right? You can't have a half a thing. It can't be like waist down one thing and waist up another thing and then that works. Nobody fucking says that shit. And feather, like, you can't have half a feather. Like, do these jackasses know that this is all keratin? Scales, feathers, all of this shit, it's all keratin. And there is a point mutation. This is one of my favorite, I think I said this in like some of my, probably the like definitive guide to debunking creationism. If you want to blow the mind of a creationist, tell them there is a point mutation, a single base pair mutated in chickens that cause the scales on their legs and feet to grow feathers, right? Instead of scales, there's feathers, right? So from scales to feathers, it's a fucking point mutation, okay? So you don't need half a feather. You don't need any of this shit. It's a single point mutation, my friend.
In some way, it just wouldn't work.
Tell me about the bees and the pollination of flowers.
Well, remember, if you're not going to believe God created different kind of creatures, you got to believe that something turned into something else, that turned into something else, that turned into something else. So they'll line them up like the tricycle to the car, except they do it with bones. They find flowers and plants in different rock layers, and they give them certain ages. They pick a dating method that supports their belief system. It's a belief system. They believe flowering plants developed about 100 million years ago. It's a fictitious time frame. It isn't true. But they find other animals like bees that didn't appear till 20, 30 million years later. How could you have plants being pollinated and surviving for 30 million years when there's nothing around to pollinate them?
Wind. Have you heard of wind? Right? Just because a mechanism has evolved, right? Just because you have a symbiosis, right? You can have changes within an ecosystem that then become cemented in that ecosystem, right? And then there's a dependence on that, right? Things evolve over time. Like, things aren't fictitious just because they hurt your feelings. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? You have all of these specific dates. They're not pulled out of anyone's ass, right? This is how science works, right? We date this stuff. And yeah, and like flowering plants are relatively recent. I don't know if it's 100 million years. To be honest, I thought it was more recent than that. I thought it was like under 50 million years. But yeah, like plants, like pollination occurred, like you had you had gymnosperms and then you had angiosperms. Like gymnosperm, like shit with like trees with like pine cones and stuff, that predates angiosperms. So we have all of these, like plants had these different mechanisms of pollination and stuff. And so like when flowering plants evolve, it doesn't mean that you immediately need to have bees, right? You don't have, there doesn't immediately, like you can have something that's functional. You can have a system that's functional and that it improves due to some symbiosis, and then that's a stimulus, right? That's a stimulus for further evolution. And then once you have pollinating insects, then like that's an input. And so then the flowering plants will evolve like a more colorful this or like whatever, something to like better attract the pollinators. That doesn't mean that it's impossible for pollen to come off of this and go land on something else. Wind exists. Use your fucking brain.
It doesn't make sense. It's one of the many problems with evolution that's just not shown to students.
And I don't know why, but I have to tell you, your story about the frogs in Africa blow me out of the water.
Well, God created things to wake us up, so we know He did it. There's a certain kind of frog, and it's actually in South America, where it lays its eggs and then it swallows the eggs. So then it shuts down its stomach acid. The frog goes...
Well, how do you stop your stomach acid?
Good question. How do you do that? Evolution cannot explain this. How could it...
Evolution can't explain how an animal does a thing. I don't understand how an animal does a thing, so it's impossible and God exists.
How could a creature learn to do this? Then the frog goes through its whole development where it loses its tail, it becomes a tadpole, grows arms and legs, turns into little baby frogs. About 6 weeks later, the mother opens its mouth and fully grown little frogs crawl out of its stomach. It turned its stomach into a nursery to nurture its young and protect them.
It's not its stomach. It's sitting in the fucking mouth. What are you talking about? I just covered this, and I made the amphibian videos from my zoology series. They're called Darwin's frogs. They're not in the stomach of the frog. You moron. What are you talking about? It's just a method of brooding the animals, like what of brooding the young. Like you're jumping all over the map. You're going like, a tadpole loses its tail. What's going on? God must exist. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You can point at anything that happens with any animal at any time. There are very clear like mechanisms underlaying what's going on there, right? You don't just like look at like fetal development or like a life cycle of a frog or something like that and go like, that's pretty crazy. So God, like learn something. Like this is all like it's all it's genetics, right? It's how genetics, like genes are expressed and things happen. Right? Genes are expressed and proteins are generated, which dictate what happens developmentally. Right? You can talk about like, and every animal is different, or different groups of animals are different. Totally different things happen because they have different genomes. Right? So like learn genetics or learn animal physiology instead of going like, I don't know what's going on. Right? Other people do know what's going on. You could learn it if you wanted to.
This begs the question: how does a frog know not to eat the babies as they're coming out? I mean, how?
See, creation is not non-scientific. It means
No, creation is antithetical to science. It is specifically unscientific. And just going like, how does the frog know not to eat the baby? Like, there are these things called instincts, right? How does the frog, like frogs have mating calls, like birds have mating calls, right? They're different. Like there's behavior that's encoded genetically because if like different organisms can have different tendencies randomly. And if a particular tendency towards a particular type of behavior is rewarded with a higher degree of success in terms of surviving and mating, then that's favored by natural selection. It's really like when you, like we're all supposed to learn this in 9th grade. In 9th grade biology, I mean, I distinctly remember this going like, oh, that makes perfect sense statistically. You have this population of organisms. You're going to have a distribution of behaviors and characteristics, right? You're going to have a variance in these characteristics, a little more like this, a little more like that. And then this way of being or this structural feature or this type of behavior is results in a higher likelihood of surviving and procreating. Therefore, that the genes that yield those features or behaviors are favored, and then you just end up with the organisms all being that way. Like it's so like a child. This is for children to learn. Children are supposed to learn this. You guys.
Frog was made with those abilities. It was given those instincts. It was so that we would be astounded at the creativity of God. And that
magic. A god did magic so that we would go, oh my God, look at this awesome magic. God is so cool. That's really scientific science, man.
That's the purpose. All the variety of life is so that we would be drawn to the maker who made it all. And yet we pretend it all made itself.
But why didn't you see this as a scientist that said God was irrelevant? Why didn't you see these things?
Because if you can take young children, and from when they're small children watching shows about dinosaurs, pour into them this idea of billions of years have always been around, and then line up things and pretend that it all made itself, and it's all they ever hear, we could become blinded to any other possibility.
My indoctrination and lies are true, and the way you know it is that the actual truth is indoctrination, right? It's nothing but fucking projection with these guys.
That's what's so dangerous about our American education. It's become indoctrination.
Okay, how about the Grand Canyon? I know that took millions of years to develop. I want to see his end.
I know that there's no way you can cook a pot roast in under 8 hours or whatever. So don't even try to tell me that you have an awesome device. What? You can do what? Oh my God. 6 easy payments of $19.99. Like the fucking like how this guy is a used car salesman. I just feel I have so much pity for anyone who can't. You don't have to know any science. You can be 100% science illiterate. If you can't tell on intuition alone that this guy's completely full of shit, I just feel sorry for you. I don't know what to say.
Answer when we come back.
We'll be right back to It's Supernatural.
Many viewers report testimonies of miracles, signs and wonders, and healings as a result of watching It's Supernatural.
I have suffered as a result of a back injury for over 34 years. I was watching episodes of It's Supernatural about healing, and instantly my back was healed. Thank you, Jesus.
Donald S. is totally real. He was watching this DVD or whatever the fuck they're selling, and my back healed. I totally believe it. I don't need to see any evidence of that at all. I don't need to even see the guy. I don't need to see him. I verify he's a real person. I don't even need to see his back or any photos of anything. I don't just like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me with this shit. Are you serious?
If you've been touched through watching It's Supernatural, share your testimony at sidroth.org/praise.
We now return to
Like, this is all the kind of like, this is like when I was younger, when I was like single, I would fall asleep to TV almost every night. Now I haven't done that in like 15 years, but when I was younger, I would, like, you fall asleep to TV, and then when you like wake up at like 4 a.m. and the TV's still on, and some fucking weird ass infomercial is playing, and you're like, oh my God, like, why do I do this to myself every night, that I get woken up by this garbage? Like, that's what this is. This is the kind of shit that you see at 4 a.m. because you fell asleep with the TV on, and you're like, I'm now questioning everything about how I operate as a person because I've been subjected to this.
It's Supernatural.
My wife is so fascinated by what you're teaching. She's saying if you lived in Charlotte, she'd go to lunch once a week with you. But what about mutations? Isn't that a way of creating new types of species and things?
Well, everybody hears about mutations, but mutations destroy information. The DNA, what creates our body is this code, and it's like randomly changing the letters in a book. It destroys the information. It won't.
Okay. I have to be careful because I don't want to launch into like, it's getting pretty late here. It's like 12:30 for me. I kind of want to go to bed soon. But we're not going to do an hour-long genetics lecture here now in the middle of this reaction video. But Jesus fucking Christ, mutations destroy, like, even his dumb fuck analogy doesn't work. Right? They're like, the base pairs in DNA are not like letters in a book. They absolutely are not. But even his dumb analogy doesn't work. If you change some of the letters in the book, it doesn't destroy the book. The book is not destroyed. It's called a fucking typo. And guess what? Sometimes if you have a typo, you could get a different word, right? If you have, it could become hive or something like that. It is possible for a word to become a different word from a typo, but it doesn't even matter. You don't need to have that because base pairs aren't forming words, right? Like, it's abundantly clear, like, young earth creationists don't understand 9th grade biology. They don't know how transcription and translation work. Like, they don't know what DNA is. They don't know how DNA is transcribed to get mRNA and how that's translated to get a protein. They have no fucking idea what DNA is for. They don't know what it is. And so because of that, they don't understand, like, they also don't know that there are different kinds of mutations. Like, creationists pretend that point mutations are the only thing, Right. You change a base pair, you potentially get a change in one amino acid residue in the protein, and therefore, how do you get a new species? All you did was change one amino acid. So many different kinds of mutations. There are macro mutations, right? You can have gene duplication and neofunctionalization. So now you have a completely new gene that can get a completely new protein that can serve a completely novel purpose. More than gene duplication, you can have entire chromosome duplication. An entire chromosome is duplicated. All of the genes on that extra chromosome can now become differentiated from the original chromosome, and you get dozens or hundreds of new genes. New proteins. You can have de novo genes, right? You can have a promoter translocate to a previously non-coding region of the chromosome. So you get literally like a brand new. It's not even that, like with gene duplication and neofunctionalization, you're starting from the template of the already existing gene, and it can change dramatically over time, of course, but you're still starting from a duplicated version of that gene. With de novo genes or orphan genes, you have a totally random section of the chromosome. So you get a random protein. It could be anything. It might not have function, but it could have function. And if it's neutral and you're accumulating, right, if it's neutral, then it's not going to be deselected, right? So you can accumulate mutations, and if anything in that new gene becomes functional, that can be selected for. So these bozos have no fucking idea what any of that shit means that I just said. So let's hear them fumble that.
Create a better book. It destroys information. Let me give you an example.
All right.
For about 100 years, we've taken fruit flies, we put them in a chamber, and we add like radiation to them, X-rays, and they mutate. And then the next generation has mutations. So we would think by doing this with millions of fruit flies,
what kind of mutations?
it's changing the information on their DNA code. But what you get are fruit flies with different colors, fruit flies with twisted wings, fruit flies with different numbers of bristles, fruit flies with legs hanging out where their eyeballs ought to be. We've never gotten a new creature. We've never gotten a new organ. We've never.
Yeah, that's like, first of all, I don't think it's X-rays, right? I don't think we're doing that. Maybe you are. I don't think that's true though. But yeah, you're describing pretty significant phenotypic change. Like if you have like completely different wings or like twice as many wings, like there's a mutation whereby it'll have an extra set of wings. Like you don't think that's significant? Or having limbs be in different places, like you don't think that's significant? Like you don't think that if something like that had a survival advantage, that couldn't proliferate, and then that wouldn't be a different species? Like obviously, yes, it fucking would. But also, we have observed speciation events, right? This is something that I stress. It's like the very first thing I say in like creationism debates, is that we have observed speciation events. So whatever you want to talk about, kinds, new kind, whatever, like if you're talking about species, yes, we have observed new kinds. We see this happen. So he's just doing the thing of like, oh, like it's still a fly, right? It's still, is it still a strawberry? Kent said, oh, it's still a strawberry. He didn't even understand what I was talking about. But yeah, continue.
We've gotten a new functioning feature. We've never gotten anything that's useful. That experiment shows mutations don't create new kind of creatures.
So how come we're taught this on TV?
Because if you don't want to believe God did it, you just have to make up a story. You've got to come up with some way to explain where new information comes from.
So, yeah, new information. Like these guys always pretend that like information is this like special secret substance that has to like appear out of thin air. Like the information, it's just the fucking sequence of base pairs. That's it. You change the sequence, it's new information, right? Every mutation is new information. It's a different sequence that potentially yields a different amino acid sequence in the resulting protein. And if that yields significantly different phenotypes, such that you can have a deviation, right? If you have subpopulations that then deviate to a dramatic degree, that's going to be a speciation event, right? You accumulate change over time. Like these like if you have one population that you either due to some like geological event or something, whatever happens that two groups get divided from one another and then evolve separately with different stimuli and different random events, right? Different random macromutations or whatever. They're eventually going to be different species. Like that's just what happens, right? Enough change over time. Like this whole micro macro shit, like it's just enough change over time, you're going to get dramatically different shit. Like it's like pretending that a leaky faucet can fill up a bucket, but not a pool, right? It's the same process, just longer. That's it.
So they grabbed mutations and they ran with it.
Okay, Grand Canyon. Magnificent. Millions of years in the making.
hear
You
it.
say different.
The key event in the Bible to explain the world and the way it looks is the worldwide flood. This flood was real. This entire globe was resurfaced. There would have been rapid movement of the continents. As the continents shoved together, it shoved up the mountain chains almost a year after that flood started.
How the fuck does a flood make continents go like this? Like, what the shit are you talking about? You're pointing at one geological phenomena. You're pointing at one thing. You're looking at the Grand Canyon. And first of all, you have no clue how these sedimentation processes occur, right? You like the fact that we don't see canyons forming rapidly. Like walk me through that. How the fuck did the Grand Canyon, like, first of all, why would it be a canyon? Why wouldn't it just be a mesa, right? Why is it so clearly something that was carved by erosion over long periods of time from a fucking river, right? Why would that gap be in there? It would be a mesa. Second of all, why don't we see that shit, right? Why don't we see structures like that forming very rapidly, right? We've been around for all of these thousands of years. Who has been like, oh, I saw a canyon form the other day really quick. That was weird. So that means that all this stuff happened that way. Like, just it never is followed through to the logical conclusion. But so there's already that. But then you just said this insanely dumb shit about the continents going like this. Do you have you heard of plate tectonics? Like, do you know what tectonic plates are at all?
And the water rushed off the surfaces of this newly laid down sediment and rock layers that were filled with fossils. That's where they came from. That's how it fits into the Bible. Well, as this water was rushing away, it carved out the Grand Canyon very, very rapidly.
How? Because water doesn't do that? So if it could do that, how come it doesn't do that? Water can't carve the fucking Grand Canyon overnight. It doesn't do that. Water can't carve through rock like that. If it could do that, it would do that. And you could point to water doing that. But it doesn't do that.
Give me an example as a scientist of this happening rapidly that you know of.
There's a very modern example. In Washington State in 1980, Mount St. Helens blew up. It was a volcano where the whole top of the mountain slid down into the valley.
That's not what he asked for. He just asked you for an example of water doing that, and now you're talking about volcanoes because you're an idiot.
Trillions of pounds of sediment were instantly pulverized and turned into a fluid that flowed down into the valley. Now, when that happened, it laid down a new layers of rock up to 600 foot deep. Later, water backed up.
Yeah, did you know that we can differentiate between volcanic ash and the minerals that are in sedimentary rock? Like, you know that there's like different minerals, right? And that we know about them, right?
Months later, it flushed through this area of this newly formed rock layer that had flowed as a liquid, and we see these perfectly horizontal seams of sediment that formed in a matter of minutes in this layer. It shows how the layers of the Earth formed.
No, the geological column is not comprised of volcanic ash. You're pretending that all of the rock in the world came from volcanoes because you're an idiot.
Not over millions of years, but very rapidly during this world restructuring flood.
Okay, you talk about a flood because the Bible talks about a flood. But certainly there would be records of this flood in different cultures all over.
Well, and that's exactly what we find. I mean, you can go onto the internet and you can Google flood stories. You'll come up with websites that list hundreds of cultures that have a remembrance that there really was a flood upon this planet.
How about
Oh my God, floods are a thing that can happen locally, and so there are stories. He literally says stories. He's like, oh, there are stories, so that must be a thing that definitely happened because stories are real. Because there are stories about a thing that can happen, global flood. Underpants gnomes. A to C, where's the middle?
Native Americans?
Tell
Tell me what you found.
Well, I found just a phenomenal record from the Delaware Indians. They're one of the earliest American Indian tribes that migrated through Alaska, down across Canada, and then spread out across the United States. They have a record of where they believe everything came from that exactly parallels the biblical account of creation. The Great Spirit hovered over the waters, and then he made mankind, and then evil came into mankind and distorted things and deceived mankind. But
oh my God, they have stories about a deity that made stuff and there was water. That's just like the Bible, exactly.
then they talk about a world-covering deluge that came and destroyed the entire globe. This isn't the Bible. This is a totally separate culture from the Bible. Now see, all people spread out across this globe after this flood. The Egyptians, the Chinese, the Incas, the American Indians.
And guess what? All of those people descended from Noah. That's exactly right. Like, he's literally like, all of these different people, how the fuck did they all come from one guy and his wife? Like, this is what blows my mind. Like, it's like these morons think that this shit happened twice. You had Adam and Eve and everybody, and then their super awesome benevolent God was like, fuck you, I'm murdering everybody. And then you got Noah and his wife, and then again a second time, everybody in the entire world is coming from the inbreeding of his little crew right there. And so I have yet to hear anything convincing from these guys, right? You're just listing all these different people, right? You got Asians, you got Africans, you got, right? So like help me out with this. Noah and his wife, whatever the hell they looked like, they gave birth to a Chinese guy and an African black guy and a Native American and like a Viking looking dude. Like, all of that shit came from Noah? Is that what you're telling me?
They spread out after the flood, but they took with them a remembrance of this flood, and that's exactly what we find.
Tell me about the seashells.
We find seashells at the top of Mount Everest. Mount Everest is 28,000 feet above sea level, and yet there are fossilized seashells that high above sea level. The reason they're there is because those mountains were pushed up at the end of Noah's flood, and they contained all of these dead creatures that had been compacted into new rock layers formed during this flood.
Yeah, it's it's actually new. Usually I don't even hear this like slight admission of what factually happened. He's kind of alluding to what actually happened and then pretending that that's not what happened, right? When you have an orogeny, right? When you have a plate, a tectonic plate that collides with another tectonic plate, oceanic crust gets pushed up. It's called an orogeny. An orogeny is a mountain building geological event. And so what happens is oceanic crust gets pushed way the fuck up to make a mountain. That's why you have like fossils and shells and shit like that on a mountain. Geologists understand all this stuff. But what's interesting is that he was like, I don't remember exactly what he just said, but he was kind of alluding to what I just said and then pretending that that's not real because reasons.
The Bible talks about, in addition to giving evidence as to how things were created, because the evidence is from the Creator, it talks about in the last days there'll be scoffers that won't believe what God says.
Yeah, you're referring to 2 Peter 3, verse 3. It says, in the last days, scoffers will come, saying everything's continued as it has since our fathers fell asleep. In other words, slow, gradual processes explain everything. That's where the days we live in today. We are living in what the Bible calls the last days. And then it says these scoffers will specifically say there was never creation out of water, a reference to God created everything as he hovered over the waters of the deep. and there's never been an earth flooded by water. The two signs we're in the last days will be a denial of creation and a denial of a worldwide flood.
Okay, first of all, it's been the last days for fucking 2,000 years or whatever. It's always the last days. It's always, oh my God, Judgment Day is around the corner. Look at this. There's like wars and shit. There's like wars and natural disasters. There's stuff that's happening literally all the time, always. That's how we know it's the last of days. That's the funny part for me. But no, sorry. The actual funny part is that all of these lies are true because there's people pointing out that they're lies, right? When the people point out that these are lies, that's how you know they're true, right? That's the fucking logic that this asshole is trying to present here, is that there will be scoffers. He calls them scoffers. So, like, think of the logic here, is that I can write a book. I can write some book that says, like, whatever the fuck I want. There's a unicorn that farted out the mountains or whatever, anything I want. And this is the word of God, and there are going to be people who say that it's false. And here's my prediction in my special book. And that's how you know that it's true, is because people are going to say it's not true. When people say it's not true, that's how you know it's true. Like, who the fuck falls for this shit?
That's exactly what the academic community is doing to all of our children as we send them through the public education system.
Yeah, schools teach children facts so that they don't fall for the shit that you're talking about.
But God says in the last days, he'll give us a sign. It will be like the days of Noah. What do you believe he meant?
Well, Jesus said these words. He said, it will be as in the days of Noah before I return. There was a monument to a coming judgment called Noah's Ark, towering above all mankind in the days of Noah. I believe we are very close to finding Noah's Ark locked in ice at the top of Mount Ararat, a boat big enough to put every species of mammal, bird, and amphibian in that boat, locked at the top of one of the highest mountains.
Doesn't look that big to me. That thing had like 10 windows on it. So this is my, I'm not going to belabor this because it's late, but, and you go to my, Debunking Creationism series, but it's like people who push the fucking Noah myth, like this was written in a time where they're like, all the kinds of animals. What are the kinds of animals? There's like lions and bears and like a goat and like three kinds of birds, and that's all the animals, right? Like they just knew of like a few animals, and they're like, yeah, they put them on a boat. Now we know that there's fucking millions of species, right? And so the task of the young Earth creationist is to make this decision, and it's to go, did the ark contain a pair of each of these millions of species, which meant this shit was the size of fucking Manhattan. It was a boat that you can't even believe how huge it was. And then forget all the, like, how did you get them to not eat each other, and what did you do, where'd you put the food, and what'd you do with all the shit, and like all that crap, which basically you explain by going, magic is real. You either have to do that, or you go, and this is what most of them do, they're like, okay, well, all of those, like, hundreds of thousands of species of beetles, it was just beetles. It was just a pair of beetles. That's it. And then since then, we've gotten all of the beetles. So as a workaround to go evolution isn't true, I'm going to propose this hyper rapid, insane evolution on steroids, where we can go from one pair of beetles to all of the thousands of species of beetles in like 200 years or whatever, because this was supposed to be 6,000 years ago, and we've known about all these species for the entirety of recorded human history. So it basically happened in the blink of an eye. So all of this shit evolved instantly in a way that is absolutely biologically impossible, like actually biologically impossible, not what you pretend is biologically impossible, which is just actual evolutionary biology. That's the shit that you guys are pretending is real when you push the Noah's Ark shit. I'm sorry, it's just like you prove yourself wrong with the shit that you say. It's crazy.
On this planet. What better sign could there be that these rock layers are not very, very old? They were laid down by this flood only about 4,500 years ago.
Because floods don't do that. That's not a thing that happens.
According to the information that I have and that you've seen, we're about ready to see that. There's so many sightings that have
There have been
reported.
sightings from the early 1900s on up, and we now have satellites that can see through ice that have seen an object in that ice that looks very much like Noah's Ark.
But how could the Ark? I often wonder.
So where the fuck is it? You saw it with the satellite, right? Go get it. Go dig it out. And what the fuck would that prove anyway? Oh my God. Like, first of all, no, you didn't. Just no, you didn't. You didn't do that. That's not a thing that happened. But if you did find a boat, wow, you found a boat. Therefore, all of these stories are true. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, this whole, like, Judgment Day is around the corner. First of all, it speaks to the fucking sadism of creationists. They're like salivating for the apocalypse. They're like, oh my God, Judgment Day is here. We're all gonna die. I can't wait for everyone to die because that means I get to go to heaven and all those stupid non-believing jerks are gonna go burn in a lake of fire exactly how they deserve because they didn't believe in the dumb shit that I believe in. Like, if you're like, creationists are genuinely bad people. Like, you're just bad, unethical people that want harm to come to others. Like, you like the idea that people go to hell. Like, you like it. You want the apocalypse to happen. It's fucking weird, man. It's a cult.
How could the Ark hold so many animals?
Well, the better question is, why is there a boat that big locked on top of this mountain?
That's not the better question because no, there fucking isn't. The question is, how the fuck did those animals fit on that ark? And you just dodged it.
14,000 feet above sea level. It's big enough to hold every species of mammal, every species of bird,
like every species of mammal, like these 7 animals, right? I missed it. There was like a koala and a rhino and a bear. There was like 7 or 8 animals in that picture. They were all on there, and that's all of them.
every species of amphibian that's ever been alive on this planet in only about half the space of the ark.
If it was ready to rain and God told you a flood was coming, would you get in an ark? Would you build an ark? I would. You would. The ark has already come. The ark has a name. His name is Jesus.
Amen.
You're either in Jesus or out of him.
What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're going from build a boat to you're in Jesus? Where is this guy? Where is the guy? Where is the guy? And how do I get inside of him? Right? This is some weird, like, for homophobes, this is some pretty vaguely homoerotic shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Choose this day who you will serve. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the living God. Make Jesus your Messiah and Lord. You repent, and the life of God will touch your spirit, and it'll become alive to God. And God says a miracle will happen. He will remember your sins no more. And you will be able to communicate with the living God. You will hear his voice. This is what you need now.
Yeah. You need it now. Listen to the dramatic music. This isn't manipulative at all, right? If this weren't true, why would I need all of this fucking pageantry to sell this shit to you?
There is an insidious satanic plot being waged against you, your children, and your grandchildren through TV, the movies, on the internet, and in our schools and universities to undermine the Bible's authority and shake the very foundation of belief in Jesus as Messiah.
Schools are teaching facts. Oh my God, it's the devil.
I've got a generation of children that we have relinquished our education to the public schools, to television, to movies. And as a result, they stand no chance at believing the credibility of the Bible.
Call right now to get Bruce Malone's easy to...
When people get educated, they reject the Stone Age myths that we cling to and try to indoctrinate children with. Go figure.
Understand must-read book, Censored Science, and his one-year daily devotional, Inspired Evidence, plus his powerful DVD, Explosive Geological Evidence for Creation. Yours for a donation of $40. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9204. Bruce Malone, an award-winning top scientist, wrote a powerful book, Censored Science.
He's a top scientist. Totally a top scientist, you guys.
Filled with full-color photographic and illustrated scientific facts that point directly to God as creator. Through this beautiful hardcover book, you will learn of the many true scientific discoveries that actually increase your confidence that the Bible gives the only accurate record of the creation of planet Earth.
Just look at these actors very transparently pretending to give a shit what this book says for money. Right? That's all the proof I need.
See for yourself convincing evidence from biological sciences showing why evolution is not true. Explore the amazing evidence.
Look, honey, rocks. I'm making a vague gesticulation towards a canyon, so the Bible is true.
Evidence from geological sciences that shows the reality of a global flood approximately 4,500 years ago in the days of Noah. Understand why stars could never have been made themselves. Learn the fact.
Gravity isn't real, you guys. There's absolutely no way that hydrogen could collect by gravity and become a star. It's impossible.
And reasons why evolution is wrong in stating that the Earth is millions of years old, when it is actually a more recent creation. You also get Bruce Malone's book, Inspired Evidence, which is a one-year devotional that is jam-packed with fascinating and amazing scientific facts and anointed scriptures that build your faith in God, the Bible, and clearly...
I keep missing that Einstein quote. The other time I wanted to... it doesn't matter.
proves that it is God who created the heavens and the earth. You'll want to share these daily devotionals with your spouse, your children, and your grandchildren. And through his revealing DVD, you will realize the explosive geological evidence, which proves once and for all that biblical creation is true and evolution is a lie from the pit of hell.
If you do not know this information yourself, if you do not teach this to your children and your grandchildren, someone else will teach them the opposite. And if they can undermine the Word of God in the basics of creation, they undermine the Word of God. And
if you don't brainwash your children, they're going to learn facts at school. What are we going to do?
you can't let that happen to your family.
Don't miss out on getting Bruce Malone's easy-to-understand, must-read book, Censored Science, and his one-year daily devotional, Inspired Evidence, plus his powerful DVD, Explosive Geological Evidence for Creation. Yours for a donation of $40. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9204. Call or you can send your check to Sid Roth. It's Supernatural. P.O. Box 39222, Charlotte, North Carolina 28278. Please specify offer number 9204 or log on to sidroth.org. Call or write today.
Next week on It's Supernatural, my guest heard from God about the last outpouring of miracles before Jesus comes, and he heard from God that many, if they don't do what God is going to explain to you, will miss this great outpouring of miracles.
That's it, man. You don't want to miss these miracles, dude. You gotta tune in. I heard these miracles are happening. They're happening all over the place. We can't catch them. Can't get them on video, right? We just, whoopsie, oh, nobody was recording, right? A blind man saw, and like the guy who can't walk or is like missing a leg, he grew a leg magically because God was like, here you go, here's your leg back. Didn't catch it. We thought it was recording, but it wasn't recording. So, miracles happen all the time. Wow, that was like, holy shit, man. It's like, it's funny because, I mean, obviously it's like the exact, like, it's the same talking points every time. It's not any different when it's like the last one I did was the Answers in Genesis guy. It's just like that guy was like, oh, like I'm a scholar in a room with like all of these artifacts or something, and then these assholes are doing, it's like, it's an infomercial. It's a fucking infomercial that's like, you gotta buy this book today, and there's a DVD and shit, and you gotta buy it, man, because but it's not, you're not buying it, it's a donation. You're donating, it's a charitable donation. So that makes it better. It's fucking disgraceful. Like, there's no, I mean, there's worse people. There's like people that commit genocide and shit, but like, okay, like take that layer away. Like, people who aren't like murdering people, like that's the top layer. You go one layer below that, these are the worst people. They're the worst. I mean, it just, like, your entire purpose in life is to just deceive people to make money and keep everyone stupid. And it's like, that's your, like the world would be better without you. Like, that's the kind of person you're gonna be. Like, it just, and you're that old too. This guy's old as shit. I mean, this was 11 years ago. Maybe he's dead by now. I don't even know. Like, I've never even heard of this guy. But it's just like how can you, like, try to at least be a person that's like irrelevant? You know what I mean? Like, most people are just kind of like, I was a person and I existed, and nothing, I didn't contribute. And that's fine. Like, it's like just to be neutral, as opposed to like poisoning society with this bullshit. Like, that's the kind of person you want to be. Like, you know, I don't know. I feel like young Earth creationism is dying, I think. Don't you think? I don't know. It's like, I just feel like fewer and fewer people are falling for that kind of shit, and instead are kind of following like more sophisticated creationism, like Discovery Institute crap, which is why, like, that, like, this is fucking, I'm gonna, you know, ooh, ha ha ha, this is so stupid. That shit I take more seriously. Those are pieces that I have to, like, really, you know, it's that, I consider that important work. This is fucking, we're having a laugh, right? You know, but I don't know, man. It's late. I'm tired. I hope that you enjoyed that. I suppose I enjoyed that. I never remember, like, do I have fun on the other ones? I think I do. I mean, it's funny. Like, it's definitely funny. Is it more funny or aggravating? I don't know. I mean, it's more aggravating than funny. It's not even a contest, but at least it is funny. I mean, watching the fucking, like, censored stamp, like, it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, so that's it. That's all we have. That's all I'm gonna do right now. So thank you for watching. This was a little, hour 45. So I was kind of on it. It was a little longer though. And that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye.